All praises to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and peace to everyone joining me on this program. This is the Fountain of Israel's Bible Studies program, and as always, it's an honor for me to stand before you on the Lord's holy Sabbath day. Now, with that, I'd like to get to the title right out the gate. So, this title is called The Thoughts of the Mind. The Thoughts of the Mind. Now, before we go any further, let me just go ahead and thank everyone who's been supporting the ministry. I appreciate it. And going forward, let me just simply say, please like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Please smash that notification bell if you will, and we can go ahead and proceed with the lesson. Shalom, family. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Now, this lesson is the thoughts of the mind. The thoughts of the mind. We just really have to understand and appreciate that whatever our dominant thought is, we move in that direction, right? We kind of see the world that way. We kind of tailor our actions, and everything that we do in our worldview, it's all formed, it's all shaped by our thoughts, right? So what we think is very, very important. Very important. So we're going to go ahead and look at this particular lesson and let it kind of bear out, and we'll deal with it, scripture by scripture. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. You guys meet me over in Proverbs 20. Now, guys, remember, hey, put things in the chat, the comment section, however you are joining. Let's go ahead and talk to one another, ask me questions, whatever you want to do. That's what we're here for, because it is a class, and I believe that you should know a little more when you leave than when you came in. So Proverbs 20, we're going to start at verse 9. In Proverbs 20 and 9, and it says this. And I'm reading from the King James, guys. This time I'm reading from the King James. Who can say I have made my heart clean? I am pure from my sin. Like, who can say that? Who can say I'm holier than thou, right? Let's jump down a little bit, because we're going to cover a lot of ground. Verse 11. Let's go to 11. 11 says, even a child is known by his doings, whether his works be pure and whether it be right. And they do know that, right? You don't even have to teach your child to be dishonest. You don't even have to do that. They know that, right? So you tell them, hey, don't get the cookie, just leave it alone. You're going to spoil your dinner or whatever, right? And, you leave the room. Next thing you know, they eat the cookie. You go ahead and look at them. They got chocolate chips all over their face. And you're like, okay, did you eat the cookie? And they're going to just lie right to your face, okay? So they already know, right? Or if they know that they shouldn't have done something and you ask them about it and they simply lie about it, okay? So they already know. They know it is wrong. The Most High gave us a conscience, so we know when something is wrong, right? So that's 11. We're going to drop down to 27. It says what? The spirit of man is the candle of the Lord, searching all the inward parts of the belly. So this is how the Most High, he looks at us, right? It says he look at the inward man. So he looks at how you think, how you move, your internal mechanisms. He thinks of the machinations of man, right? Even Jeremiah, the heart is desperately wicked. We know what we know what that says, right? But it's how we think. It's how we process information. How we look at the world around us, how we make decisions. These are the thoughts of the mind. We have to be aware of this, brothers and sisters. Okay, let's look at Psalm. Let's go to Psalm. We're in Proverbs right now, but we're going to go ahead and go back to Psalm, and we're going to go to 139. Psalm or Tehillim 139. We're leaving Mishle, so we're going to go to Psalm. This is 19. And we're going to go to 139. 139, I'll start at verse 1, and we'll move around a little bit. So verse 1, it says this. O Lord, thou hast searched me and known me. Thou knowest my down sitting and my uprising. Thou understandest my thought afar off. Thou compassest my path and my lying down, and art acquainted with all my ways. For there is not a word in my tongue, but lo, O Lord, thou knowest it altogether. So it's like, I can't get nothing past you. You know me from inside out. You know what I'm thinking, how I'm feeling. You know everything about me. Okay, I don't even have to say anything, and you know everything. You know what I'm going to say before I even say it, right? He's just basically saying, you know everything about me, right? I'm going to drop down to 23 and 24. It says, search me, O God, and know my heart. And he's really talking about his mind. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there be any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting, right? So if there's any, he's basically saying, if there's anything wrong with me, yeah, correct me. This is what he's saying, excuse me. He's saying, if there's anything wrong with me, when you search me, correct me, put me on the right path, okay? I want to be on the path that's going to lead me to everlasting life, right? So this is what he's saying, and that's the thing. He wants to clean up his mind. This is what you and I should want. We should want to clean up our mind, clean up our thoughts. It's someone, come on, in the chat, in the comments down below. Can someone say if they can use good mental house cleaning? Good mental house cleaning. Give me a 100. Let's keep going, guys. We're going to go First Chronicle. Okay, let's go to First Chronicle. Okay, First Chronicle, we're going to go to 28. First Chronicle, chapter 28, and I'm looking at basically one verse, which is verse 9. Now it says this, it says, and thou, Solomon, my son, know thou the God of thy father, and serve him with a perfect heart and with a willing mind. For the Lord searches all hearts and understand all the imaginations of the thoughts. And if thou seek him, he will be found of thee. But if thou forsake him, he will cast thee off forever. Right? So I see our mind and our thoughts should always be aimed in that direction. Aimed in a direction that pleases God. What is it that you would have me to do? What is it that you want me to think about? What is it that you want me to focus on? What should I be doing, oh Lord, oh Yah, right? So these are the things that, these are the kind of right thoughts we should have. We'll go through these scriptures and we'll see, we'll have examples. We need to understand, how do we clean up our thoughts? How do we do some spring cleaning of the mind? How do we do that? Okay? How should we focus? Do we focus too much time on things that does not matter? Do we major in minors? Right? So that's what we're looking at, right? So let's go to Genesis. Okay? Let's go to Genesis. We'll go to Genesis. I'm going to go to chapter 9 in Genesis. Chapter 9 in Genesis. And when we get there, I'm going to read verses 20 and 21. Chapter 9, 20 and 21. Now, it says, and Noah began to be a husbandman, and he planted a vineyard. And he drank of the wine and was drunken, and he was uncovered within his tent. Okay, so he was basically naked within his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, okay, and told his two brethren, right? So now, drunken, not really, doesn't really know what's going on, doesn't really know what's going on. And sometimes this is the problem with going past your limit, because now you're not thinking straight. And so this is that issue. This is that problem. So being drunken, okay, is wrong, right? It is wrong. Okay, but I think I'm gonna cut Noah some slack, because one, he's gonna make it into the kingdom, okay? And then the other thing I'm gonna cut him some slack because he just saw and lived through the destruction of the entire world, and the only people on the planet is him and his family. So I'm gonna cut him a little bit of slack. Okay? But many of us, what do we do when you drunk? He got drunk and went in his tent and laid down. Okay? What do we do when we go too far? Okay? And we're thinking straight then. We already know alcohol lowers the inhibitions. Then what do? Some of you know yourselves. I don't know you personally, but you know yourselves. Do you or someone you know go a little too far, not thinking straight, not being rational, not themselves? Thoughts of the mind. These are the thoughts of the mind. Let's go to the New Testament. Ephesians. Hold on one second here. Ephesians 6. Okay. And when we get there, I'm going to start at 10. Right? We'll start at 10, Ephesians. It says, "Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girded about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. Praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints." If I may, brothers and sisters, here's the thing. As we go through this world, because the scripture says that, in this world there'll be tribulation, right? We're going to have trouble. There's going to be a lot of vexation. There's going to be a lot of problems in this world. And we understand that. We get that. And we have to be what? Sly as a fox, harmless as doves. We have to be able to navigate the vicissitudes of this world, right? We have to be able to do that. All these changes in this world, we have to be able to get through it without much damage, if you will, right? We have to understand that. And we also understand that there are a lot of distractions in this world, distracting us from what this says the Lord, distracting us from what's really to come, right? Distracting us. We always pay attention to that hand, what's in the hand in front of us, and never pay attention to the hand that's behind the person presenting, the hand that's behind their back. And so we have what? Social media. We have that. And we have, the internet. We have all of these programs. We have our Netflix and Hulu and our Roku and, Apple TV. We have all these distractions. We have all these celebrities and talking heads. All these people, all this entertainment, all this drama, of all this, all to serve one purpose. It is to distract you. Distract you from what you should be thinking. Have you ever been praying? You ever been praying and you're in just for a couple seconds, maybe for a couple seconds, and all of a sudden, squirrel, you're thinking of something else. You were just in the middle of prayer, and all of a sudden, you're thinking about something else. And this is one of those things when we don't know how to pray, or we can't focus on our prayer. We cannot focus on that. These are the thoughts of the mind. See, we need to be able to pray and meditate. We need to be able to do these things. It's important. These are weapons of our warfare. Now, to pray is to speak to the Most High, to speak to the Mashiach. And to meditate, so to pray is talking to Him. It's talking to the Most High. And to meditate is listening. So can we do this? Are we able to do this, brothers and sisters? See, now we know that our mind is cluttered if we cannot consistently pray or meditate for any extended period of time. Because we're so chaotic. Our brains are so chaotic. We got so many things going on in our heads. So many thoughts racing. We need to learn how to quiet our thoughts. We need to learn how to slow down the brain a little bit and focus. Give a little bit of time and attention. be able to turn off the programs, be able to turn off the television, to be able to get off the internet, to be able to really meditate and pray. Thoughts of the mind. Let's go over to 1 Corinthians, if you will. 1 Corinthians. And when I get there, we're going to go to chapter 9. We'll start at 16. And it says, "For though I preach the gospel, I have nothing to glory of, for necessity is laid upon me. Yea, woe is unto me if I preach not the gospel," the good news, right? "For if I do this thing willingly, I have a reward. But if against my will, a dispensation of the gospel is committed unto me. What is my reward then? Verily that when I preach the gospel, I may make the gospel of Christ without charge, that I abuse not my power in the gospel. For though I be free from all men, yet have I made myself servant unto all, that I might gain the more. And unto the Jews I became as the Jews, that I might gain the Jews. To them that are under the law, as under the law, that I might gain them that are under the law. To them that are without law, as without law, being not without law to God, being under the law to Christ, that I might gain them that are without law." Okay, you guys paying attention to what he's saying? To the weak became I as weak, that I might gain the weak. I am made all things to all men, that I might by all means save some. He didn't say all, some, right? "And this I do for the gospel's sake, that I might be partaker thereof with you. Know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize? So run, that ye may obtain. And every man that strive for the mastery is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we are incorruptible. I therefore so run, not as uncertainly, so fight I, not as one that beateth the air, but I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest that by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway." And so let me just put plainly, Paul is basically saying that I read the room. I consider my situation. I consider my surroundings when I'm talking to people, when I'm bringing the gospel. So I'm a person who knows the law when I'm around people who know the law, who understands Torah. When I'm around people without the law, who don't have the law, I speak to them on their level in a way that they can understand. All to bring them into the gospel. All to save some. All to save some. And the whole law of God and law of Christ and all that is just making one converted from just Torah only to Messianic. Law of Christ is believing in him, believing that he is the propitiation of our sins, believing that he is that sacrifice, believe that you are forgiven, believing that he's the only begotten son, right? All that. So he's saying he did all these things to relate to the people that he's talking to. And a lot of times we have some of our brethren who are very, very, very staunch and dogmatic, I might add. When you do something that looks like it is not, that it may be secular. Like some of you guys out there, you like sports. Some people will be like, "Oh, that's of the devil. That's not of Yah," and all that. Okay, I don't subscribe to that. It's okay. Okay, it's fine. Or some of you guys might like movies or something like that. Okay, fine. But you can relate to someone, like if I make pop culture references, right? You can relate to someone because now they understand. Now, if you are an alien to them, meaning you come in at them at a different way or a different level. For example, when you go to try to administer someone, right? And you try to tell them about the Sabbath day, you try to tell them about dietary law and all that. And you immediately, just like that, you're like, "Hey, you're not supposed to do that. That's a sin. You know, you're going to go to hell for that." Does that really minister to people, right? Especially if they don't know the law, especially if they don't even believe in the Bible or something like that. Or maybe they do believe in the Bible, but they're a different flavor, meaning they are a Christian. But then which one? There's thousands of different denominations. So how do you approach the situation? So Paul is really talking about that. He approached it different ways according to he read the room. Many people out there who try to teach, they're zealous for the law, and okay, that's fine, but they turn more people off than on. And again, it's just to save some. So I understand, even as I preach, right? Even as I teach, I know I don't reach everybody. I know that. When I started, I never thought I was going to reach everybody. I already know that. Doesn't matter, doesn't matter what I say or whatever. You're just not going to reach everybody, right? But you do want to put it in such a way that it is palatable. Now, for those of you out there who's been doing this for a while, I can speak a little bit more direct with you, a little bit more frank with you guys, because you have an understanding. But if I'm speaking to someone who's brand new, the approach may be a little bit different, right? I digress but a little. So we're going to go ahead and keep on going. We're going to go over to Mark, right? So Paul didn't want to put in his mind like, oh, well, I got this thing all figured out. Hey, I'm an apostle. I'm this, I'm that. I don't have to worry about it. He's like, no. I can preach to you, and if I get all haughty and high-minded and think I know everything or think everything, my seat is secured, I might be a castaway, right? Thoughts of the mind, right? Being prideful, being puffed up, it starts in the mind, and he was watching out for that. So we're in Mark. Go to chapter 7. I'm going to read 14, 15 real quick. Go to chapter 7. 14 says this, "And we had called all the people unto him. He said unto them, Hearken unto me, every one of you, and understand. There is nothing from without a man that entereth into him can defile him, but the things which came out of him, those are they that defile the man." Okay? Those are things that defile the man. He's just saying, do you understand what I'm saying? So, let's go ahead and incorporate another scripture in here real quick to kind of help illustrate what's going on. Let's incorporate, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, right? So out of the abundance of your mind, the mouth speaks. So if your mind is full of wickedness or depravity or debauchery or lasciviousness, if you are so consumed of those type of things, eventually it's going to come out of your mouth. Those things will defile you. These are the thoughts of the mind. It's sown right here. Why do you think everything is geared towards programming our mind? That's why we have a cancel culture, right? We have a cancel culture. You can't say this. You can't talk about that. You don't do this and that, all that. We have this type of cancel culture because they don't want you to put truth out there, because if truth get in the mind, people will start changing and stop going with the status quo. Because truth can penetrate. It penetrated you one day when you start to look at the scriptures for what it actually says. It penetrated you, right? And it got in the mind, correct? Now imagine if it got into more people's mind. So they don't want that. And of course you have, in the secular, you have other ideologies out there, whatever, that may be true. But you're going to get canceled. If you say what the actual definition of a woman is, you could get canceled. If you say anything against the rainbow community, you could get canceled. That's the kind of culture that we're trying to be, where they try to silence the truth. Let me just put it that way. Because these words, these thoughts, these ideas can get in the mind and it affects change. If enough people think a certain way, change starts to happen. Because they start to move on that thought. Thoughts of the mind. All right, we're going to read 20 to 23. So 20 says this. "And he said, That which cometh out of the man, that defileth the man. For within, out of the heart of men proceeds what? Evil thoughts, adulteries, fornications, murders, thefts, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, lasciviousness, an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within and defile the man. The things I was just saying a second ago. All these things, that's what defiles a man. Are we starting to understand? All these things, these are characteristics, these are thoughts. We have thoughts of theft, we have thoughts of covetousness, we have thoughts of wickedness and deceit and lasciviousness. We have thoughts of blasphemy, pride, foolishness. These are thoughts. These thoughts. And they come out of your mouth. And you think about it long enough, and it comes out in your action. It all begins in a thought. Let's go back to Proverbs. Proverbs 15. We're going to go back to Proverbs chapter 15. I'm going to read one verse, 15 and 26. The thoughts of the wicked are an abomination to the Lord, but the words of the pure are pleasant words. The thoughts of the wicked are an abomination to the Lord, but the words of the pure are pleasant words. We should mind our thoughts, because we know the Most High can read our thoughts, so we should mind our thoughts. We should be very, 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 very careful of what we think. Now, I'm not trying to condemn any of you. I know, hey, we have to learn, we have to get better, right? But start cleaning it up. Start cleaning up our thoughts. What are you focused on? What are the things you're thinking about? Let's start working on those things. Let's start looking at those particular things. We're going to keep going. With Proverbs 30, I just want one verse there as well. Proverbs 30. If you are still with me, give me a 100 in the chat or the comment section down below. If you're still with me and you're getting something from it, okay, let me know. This helps me understand where the need is, right? The type of lessons and things that you guys may need out there. Where's the need, right? I want to teach according to the need. So Proverbs 30 and 32. 32 says this: and if thou hast done foolishly in lifting up thyself, or if thou hast thought evil, lay thine hand upon thy mouth. Like, keep your mouth closed. Lay your hand upon your mouth. Basically, shut up. Shut up. Because see, it's a progression, right? And the reason why that's important, it starts right there, because everything begins in thought, right? Okay? A thought becomes a word, and a word becomes an action, and an action becomes a character, and a character becomes a destiny, right? So we have to understand those type of things. So if we stop it at the beginning, we stop it at the thought. I mean, the thought might occur because that's kind of hard, right? It's hard. Now we got to work on that, but that's kind of hard. But at the very least, shh. Zip your throat box. Let's not have any vibrations in your throat box, okay? Don't say it, okay? Don't say it. Keep your mouth shut. Hit that off at the pass. Here's the gate right here. Stop it. Stop it right here at the gate. Okay? Let's leave it right there. And then we have a chance. Because once it comes through this progression, okay, if it just keeps going, bad things happen. It becomes who you are, and it becomes your destiny. 1 Peter. We're going to go to 1 Peter, and when I get there, I want to go to chapter 4 in 1 Peter. We're going to go chapter 4 in 1 Peter. Chapter 4. Okay, so we're going to read 1 through 4. All right, so 1 Peter 4. It says, "For as much then as Christ has suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind, for he that has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin, that he no longer should live the rest of his time in the flesh to the lust of men, but to the will of God. For the time past of our life may suffice us to have wrought the will of the Gentiles, when we walked in lasciviousness and lusts and excess of wine and revelings and banqueting and abominable idolatries, wherein they think it strange that ye run not with them to the same excess of riot, speaking evil of you." I know you guys, that really don't even need much translation now, does it? See, because when you came into this truth, when you came into this idea of saying, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and walk in Torah. I'm going to go ahead and do what thus says the Lord, right? You guys, you don't even need a translation, because you already know what that is. You know that when you gave up the old life, that people thought it was strange that you don't do that anymore. They think it was strange that you don't celebrate Christmas and Easter no more. They thought it's strange that you don't eat pork anymore. They thought it's strange that you don't go Friday night, Saturday night to the club. At least most of you. Some of you probably still do. But you don't party like them no more. You don't drink and get drunk or in excess like you did before. And I'm not saying having a drink is a sin. Having a drink is not a sin. But I digress. So you don't do that, and they think it's strange. They think you've lost your mind. What do you mean you don't do this? They try to remind you of the old you when you became a new creature in Yeshua HaMashiach. You became a new creature, and they're like, well, we grew up on this. What are you talking about? Or they slyly remind you, oh, I remember back in the day when you did this. I remember that, right? You start changing your complete mindset into that pleases Yah. You tried to you came in with a zeal, and you were trying to please your maker. You're trying to just please him. That's all you cared about. And then when you go around these other people, right? Some of you try to save, you try to convert them and all that. Didn't take with all of them, right? To save some. And then when you try to hang out with them, they think you're crazy. They think you lost your mind. That's what they think of you. Now, of course, some of you say, you know what, I can't convert them, so I can't hang around them anymore. I'm not going to do the old things that I used to do, right? Right? I think what DMX, he was saying in his song, Lord Give Me a Sign, and said he's mad, because I think he was speaking of the devil, telling me that you want me to do what I used to. And that's what all your people, all the people in your life, or the people in the past, they want you to do what you used to, because that's who you really are to them. That's what they remember. So to them, that's who you really are. And if not, they think you're strange. All right? Some of my black sheep of the family understand what I'm talking about. Let's keep going, guys. We're going to go to Genesis 39, if you will. If you relate, sound off in the comment section down there. Give me in the chat if you relate what I'm talking about. Genesis 39, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. Genesis 39. And from there, I'm going to start at verse 1. We'll move around a little bit. Genesis 39. Okay. And we start at verse 1, which reads, "And Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down thither. The Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him. And he made him an overseer over his house, and all that he put into his hand, excuse me. And then we're going to drop down to 7 through 12, right? 7 says this, and it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, lie with me. But he refused and said unto his master's wife, behold, my master wanted not that what is with me in the house, and he had committed all that he had to my hand. There is none greater in this house than I, neither has he kept back my thing from me about thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? Notice who he said he would sin against, right? Notice what he said, or who he said he would sin against. In verse 12, and it came to pass as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her to lie by her, or to be with her. And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there within. And she caught him by his garment, saying, lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. And fled and got him out. So let me ask you this. Was Joseph's mind in the right place? Was he focused on the right thing? Was he focused on being, an honorable man towards his master, not sleeping with his wife? Okay, we understand before the law even came, he understood that adultery was wrong. Before the law was written, okay, he understood that adultery was wrong and he fled from it. How many of us today is going to flee from it? If you know this woman is married, why deal with her? What about her thoughts? What were her thoughts? His master's wife, where was her thoughts? On wickedness, adulteries, lasciviousness, debauchery, the things we just read about in the Brit Hadashah, the New Testament, right? You see, he was thinking on good things. So besides honoring his master, he was also wanted to honor his God. How can I do this and sin against God? This is something, how do you know that? The law wasn't even written yet. Guys, the thoughts of the mind, obviously his thoughts were on the right thing and her thoughts was on wickedness. And we know if we continue, she goes to frame him and all that stuff, right? But guys, there's a lesson to be had there. Let's go on over to 2 Samuel chapter 11. 2 Samuel. 2 Samuel chapter 11. And when we get to 11, we're going to read the first 5 verses and then move around. Let's see here. 2 Samuel chapter 11. And I'm going to read start at verse 1. And it came to pass, after the year was expired, at the time when the king go forth to battle, that David sent Joab and his servants with him and all of Israel. And he destroyed the children of Ammon and besieged Rabbah. But David tarried still at Jerusalem. And it came to pass in an evening tide that David arose from off of his bed and walked upon the roof of the king's house. And from the roof he saw a woman washing herself, and the woman was very beautiful to look upon. And David sent and inquired after the woman, and one said, is not that Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite, right? So he's getting the lowdown right there. Now, brothers and sisters, that should have ended it right there. He's the wife of Uriah, then that should be done. It should be nothing else to talk about. But what happened? And David sent messengers and took her, and she came in unto him, and he lay with her. For she was purified from her uncleanness, and she returned unto her house. What was David? What was on David's mind? What was he thinking about? Did he not get enough information to make the right decision? Now compare his thoughts to Joseph's thoughts. I don't think we have to belabor the point. Let's continue. Verse 26 and 27, it says, and when the wife of Uriah heard that Uriah, her husband, was dead, she mourned for her husband. And when the mourning was past, David sent and fetched her to his house, and she became his wife and bare him a son. But the thing that David had done displeased the Lord. See, he had to have her. In his mind, his thoughts. And he's like, she is just too beautiful. I have to have her. Then, of course, David set him up to die. Mind your thoughts. If we continue to keep giving in to our baser thoughts, if we continue to give them, because we keep thinking we can slide with it, right? And we think you start getting grace and grace and grace and grace. It's not really unlimited. It's not as unlimited as we think it is. We're supposed to be sinning or stumbling less and less and less and less and less. We're supposed to be getting better. See, this is a walk, not a step. So we should be getting progressively better as we go, as we pray, meditate, and walk. But it starts with how we think. How do we think about the commandment of not committing adultery? Should we go out of our way like Joseph? Or should we give in like David? Both of them were thinking something. But we both know they were focused in two different directions. They both knew what adultery is. They both know that sleeping with another man's wife is not good. And they both made two different decisions. Let us continue. We're going to go to Genesis 38. We're going to come back to 2 Samuel. We're going to go back to Genesis 38 real quick. Genesis 38. Genesis 38. And now, when we get to Genesis 38, we're going to start at verse 1, and then we'll move around a little bit. Starting at 1, it says, and it came to pass at that time that Judah went down from his brethren and turned into a certain Adulamite, whose name was Hirah. And Judah saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite, whose name was Shua. And he took her, and he went in unto her. And she conceived and bore a son, and he called his name And she conceived again and bore a son, and she called his name Onan. And she yet again conceived and bare a son, and called his name Shelah. And he was at Chezib when she bare him. And Judah took a wife for his firstborn, whose name was Tamar. Okay, so we're going to move around a little bit. We're going to drop all the way down to 12. It says, in the process of time, the daughter of Shua, Judah's wife, died. Okay. And Judah was comforted and went unto his sheep shearers of Timnah, he and his friend Hirah the Adulamite. And it was told Tamar, saying, behold, thy father-in-law goeth up to Timnah to shear his sheep. And she put her widow's garment off from her, and covered her with a veil, and wrapped herself, and sat in an open place, which is by the way to Timnah. For she saw that Shelah was grown, and was not given unto him to wife. Okay, because she was waiting, because Judah said that he would do that for her. All right, and then let's see here. 15. And when Judah saw her, he thought her to be a harlot. Thought she was. She wasn't, but he thought she was, because she had covered her face. And he turned unto her by the way and said, go to, I pray thee, let me come in unto thee. For he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, what wilt thou give me that thou mayest come in unto me? And he said, I will send thee a kid from the flock. And she said, wilt thou give me a pledge till thou send it? And he said, what pledge shall I give thee? And she said, thy signet and thy bracelet and thy staff that is in thy hand. And he gave it to her and came in unto her, and she conceived by him. Okay. Now we got to understand the context here. Righteous daughters or women wanted to be covered. Okay. They wanted to have a husband. They wanted to have a leader. They wanted these type of things because it was security. It was safety and security and provision for them, right? Now, of course, we read the whole thing. We know that Judah, he lost. She was married to one of his sons, and that particular son died. He said, okay, I'll give you to one of my other sons. And then when she saw that son came of age or marriageable age, that he didn't do it. So she felt like, okay, he didn't, how come I'm not married yet? Okay. So she was still fairly young, at least young enough to bear children. And so she's like, okay, so if you're not going to give me my son, then I'm going to be with you. Now, of course, we continue to read. Then we know once he found out who she was and all that, he didn't deal with her intimately or whatever, but he did take care of her. So she stayed in that house. So her thoughts was that she wanted to be pure. I mean, not pure. I'm sorry. That's not the word that I wanted to use. The word I wanted to use is that she wanted to be covered. She wanted to be in the family. She wanted to be covered. She wanted to be looked after. She wanted a husband. His thoughts were on something else. His thoughts were on something else. And he succumbed to those thoughts. And we see what the result is. So we're going to go back to 2 Samuel. Let's look at this one more time. We're going to go back to 2 Samuel. Let's go back. So we're going to go back to 2 Samuel, and this time we're going to go to 13. 2 Samuel 13, and we're going to start at verse 1. Okay, we're going to start at verse 1. Let's take a look at this. It said, and it came to pass after this that Absalom, the son of David, had a fair sister, whose name was Tamar. And Amnon, the son of David, loved her. And Amnon was so vexed that he fell sick for his sister Tamar, for she was a virgin. And Amnon thought it hard for him to do anything to her. But Amnon had a friend whose name was Jonadab, the son of Shimeah, David's brother. And Jonadab was a very subtle man. And he said unto him, why art thou, being the king's son, lean from day to day? Wilt thou not tell me? And Amnon said unto him, I love Tamar, my brother Absalom's sister. And Jonadab said unto him, lay thee down on thy bed, and make thyself sick. And when thy father is coming to see thee, say unto him, I pray thee, let my sister Tamar come and give me meat, and dress the meat in my sight, that I may see it and eat it at her hand. So Amnon lay down and made himself sick. And when the king was come to see him, Amnon said unto the king, I pray thee, let Tamar my sister come and make me a couple of cakes in my sight, that I may eat at her hand. Then David sent home to Tamar, saying, go now to thy brother Amnon's house, and dress him meat. So Tamar went to her brother Amnon's house, and he was laid down. And she took flour and kneaded it, and made cakes in his sight, and did bake the cakes. And she took a pan and poured them out before him, but he refused to eat. And Amnon said, have out all men from me. And they went out, every man from him. Amnon said unto Tamar, bring the meat into the chamber, that I may eat of thy hand. And Tamar took the cakes which he had made, and brought them into the chamber to Amnon her brother. And when she had brought them unto him to eat, he took hold of her, and said unto her, come lie with me, my sister. And she answered him, nay, my brother, do not force me, for no such thing ought to be done in Israel. Do not thou this folly. What was her thoughts versus what was his thoughts? And I, whether shall I cause my shame to go? And as for thee, thou shalt be as one of the fools in Israel. Now therefore I pray thee, speak unto the king, for he will not withhold me from thee. Albeit he would not hearken unto her voice, but being stronger than she, forced her and laid with her. Then Ammon hated her exceedingly, so that the hatred wherewith he hated her was greater than the love wherewith he had loved her. And Ammon said unto her, arise and be gone. It didn't end up how he thought it would be. That wasn't how that didn't work out the way he thought it was. It didn't fulfill him or please him the way he thought. But he ran with his thoughts. He ran with his base desire. He ran with his carnal desires. And then he ruined her. And caused folly in Israel. Tearing his father's house apart. Helping to tear his father's house apart. Obviously, it's one of the things where he said the sword shall not leave David's house when he committed this folly with Uriah's wife, Bathsheba. But this was like one of those consequences. Not to absolve Ammon for what he did to his half-sister. But he went with his thoughts. He went with his base thoughts. And he ruined a person. He helped tear David's house apart. And then he ruined his sister. The thoughts are very, very, very dangerous. And they're made even worse when we act on bad thoughts. Let's continue. We're going to go to Judges 9. Right after the book of Joshua. Judges 9. Judges 9. Let's get a little bit more. I also think I'm going to have a second part to this too. So Judges 9, we're going to start at verse 1. And Abimelech, the son of Jerubbaal, went to Shechem unto his mother's brethren and communed with them and with all the family of the house of his mother's father, saying, speak, I pray you, in the ears of all the men of Shechem, whether is better for you either that all the sons of Jerubbaal, which are 70 persons, reign over you, or that one reign over you. Remember also that I am your bone and your flesh, meaning, I'm your family. Keep that in mind. And his mother's brethren spake of him in the ears of all the men of Shechem all these words, and their hearts inclined to follow Abimelech, for they said, he is our brother. And they gave him 70 pieces of silver out of the houses of Baal-berith, wherewith Abimelech hired vain and light persons, which followed him. Okay. And he went unto his father's house at Ophrah, and slew his brethren, the sons of Jerubbaal, being 70 persons upon one stone. Notwithstanding, yet Jotham, the youngest son of Jerubbaal, was left, for he hid himself. Okay, I want you guys let's follow the story. Verse 6, and all the men of Shechem gathered together, and all the house of Milo, and went and made Abimelech king by the plain of the pillar that was in Shechem. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and jump down. We're going to read 56 and 57. 56 and 57, it says, thus God rendered the wickedness of Abimelech, which he did unto his father, and slain his 70 brethren. This dude slayed his own brothers. And 57. And all the evil of the men of Shechem did God render unto their heads. And upon them came the curse of Jotham the son of Jerubbaal. This is what this guy imagined. He's just like, oh, coming up with a scheme, and he get the trust of everybody and then start slaughter his own brothers. You see how the mind, you see why it's so very important to have the right thoughts. You see why that's critical, that we have the right thoughts in our heads. Because brothers and sisters, I mean, is there any amount of wickedness we have not witnessed in Israel? Think about this. If we bring it up to today and in our modern times, think about this. Think about all the mass shootings. Think about the mass shootings when people go in these grocery stores. Think about the mass shootings when people go and shoot up schools and things like that. Think about that when people flip out. Remember back in the day, they're just flipping out at the post office. That was kind of a thing, flipping out the post office. And they even had a term, going postal and things like that. Think about that. Remember the freeway shooter and stuff like that? Think about these things. All of this is like premeditated. These are their thoughts that manifested into action. So one day, why do you think the punishment for premeditated crimes is more severe? Because you thought about it. You plotted, you planned it, you meditated on it. Until it bared fruit in your actions, until you did it. Why do you think it's vitally important for you and I to mind our thoughts? Why do you think that's critical for us to do that? Brothers and sisters, I hope that you're getting the gravity of the situation. I mean, I want to, whenever possible, inject some levity in lessons such as these, but it's no laughing matter. This is a real thing. Some of you have even heard of heinous crimes and atrocities that were premeditated because people thought on it long enough. And I don't want you and I to become victims like that. I don't want you and I to be controlled like that. I don't want you and I to think of something so bad, so heinous, so vile, and act on it. Think on the things that pleases the Most High Yah. Focus on that. Pray and meditate. This is part one. I'll go ahead and I'll do a part two. And I hope someone has been edified by this lesson. So until next time, search the scriptures, improve all things. Shalom, Israel.